the awesome team that is Live Kandinda, and of course Joram Paul Sonko, and the man today, he doesn't have his coffee. I don't know what happened, but yes, the man who loves to take Ugandan coffee and Ugandan milk, that is Chirabo Robert Nyonyi. Yes, we are here to usher you into this beautiful week and of course take you through all the week up to Friday. We do this every morning, 6:30 to 9 a.m. And of course, if you're, I'm sure you're excited and happy because our man Joshua Cheptegei did us a good one. He won his third gold in Budapest over the weekend. Now, I know I don't follow sports very closely, but when it comes to things like that, trust me, I'm watching and I'm following. I don't know if Chantal is like me and if she's excited as I am.
Well, I was excited. I mean, three-time champion, and it's very good for Uganda. It's putting us out there, and also very good for Cheptegei. I would like to appreciate his consistency. Earlier in the studio, we were talking about it with Sonko and the rest that we've seen people like Inzikuru, and we've seen others that have given us. He called it a one-night stand.
For lack of a better word.
One-night stand.
But I didn't want to actually sound more rude, I should say.
You were trying to be more polite.
Yeah, more polite. But I think, like you said, the consistency of Cheptegei,
yes.
Jacob Kiplimo, by the way,
yes,
as well. Those are some of the people you look at and exactly see that consistency puts you somewhere there.
Right, and they've really done it. They've really shown us that this can be done. But good morning, Uganda. Welcome to the show. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda, and I'm super glad to be here with you. I look forward to spending the weekend, the week with you.
You know, it does seem like the weekend was so good.
Someone's mind is still in the weekend.
And of course, good morning, Uganda. Many thanks for joining us yet again. It's a brand new week, and we are swiftly taking over the month of August. I think we are left with only 2 weeks now.
Actually,
literally
when I was coming while driving to work, I was listening to a local radio station, and someone said the month of August is like Joshua Cheptegei. Sweet.
it's almost done. It's actually a week now.
Yeah.
By next week, we shall already be able to prepare for the month of September. But good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's keep inspiring you here on Good Morning Uganda.
Well, Chiravo, I don't know what happened. Why is it that I don't see a cup with you? Good morning.
Oh, really, the weekend was a bit so busy, and of course later on it must come. Definitely, trust me, when it comes to Ugandan coffee, but there's something that is running in my mind. We have a 3-time world champion.
Yes.
What are we how are we taking advantage of this as Uganda? For us to watch football, I don't believe the Premier League is the best league in the world. You know?
It is.
People who watch soccer will tell you that if you want real football, well, they'll give you other leagues where you can find. I don't want to believe that David Beckham or Wayne Rooney were really the best of their time. But these people know how to promote, how to brand, how to take advantage. Yeah. Remember how we wore clothes of David Beckham
back in the time? The marketing is up there.
The marketing, you know. Now we have a 3-time
consecutively.
How do we take advantage? How do we boost every Ugandan by now? Okay, by the closure of today, at least we should have this shirt sold on the streets.
Oh, we should have parents naming their children Cheptegei.
And people, that may not happen because it has a tribe connection, maybe Joshua. Sure. But
Ugandans.
You have those streets, you have the t-shirts, you know. We should be proud, we should promote in East Africa, in Africa. This is a rare person in the entire world.
That's true.
So how do we first as government?
Yes.
Second, as patriotic Ugandans.
Yes.
I would love to see people, guys, here on Friday when they have these t-shirts. You know, when you're proud that you have the guy's photo, you know, you have, this is where we should go and make others. You know, when these things happen, they inspire others. But you just talked about the weekend. My friend, Ginger Road and Kabalagala were not very easy spots.
What happened?
What happened? You know, when you mentioned Kabalagala, there's a different kind of story I normally get about Kabalagala. I think for Ugandans who have actually been in...
It is Kabalagala.
Okay.
Because when you say Kabalagala, I hear something that is made out of some
pancake.
type of bananas.
Okay. Now, this is what happened.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Police tested the kaunyem.
Oh.
and I was trying, but there's something I noticed. It was selective.
And the way they were actually picking, yeah?
Selecting.
I would see big cars with big number plates. People looking to be.
Okay.
And they are cleared. And the
What
ordinary
was
Ugandan,
the color of the big number plates?
red, definitely. And to be honest, I wasn't happy. Because if such an operation is to happen, let it not be selective.
The
in
law
any
should
way.
not have eyes.
Yes, it is okay when you tell this person, for you because you're so and so, at least let's take the car to police, drive and go home. Because usually Kaunyemu, they detain the people. So
Yes.
tomorrow you pay the 200 and then,
You leave.
and you're sober. And it's for your own good, by the way. If you're drunk and you're left to go while you're drunk, you're going to cause an accident somewhere. And most of the times the drunkard survive. Because who is dodging the drunkard, you end up hitting some. And for him, he reaches home not knowing he has caused 5 accidents from his drinking joint to home. So the selectiveness is what I never liked. Once your reasoning is compromised by booze, no matter who you are, if your levels reach, but this thing of not even bothering, and then bano muntu wa bulijjo. That's one thing I
And
didn't
if we
like.
are saying that we have reintroduced breathalyzers on the roads to curb drunk driving, then we cannot be selective in that. Anyway, speaking of accidents and curbing accidents, over the weekend, 20 people survived death on Lake Victoria after 2 boats collided. Now, on this program, we have talked about the accidents on the road, and we have even asked questions how we can navigate road accidents on the lakes. And of course, we one time had a conversation with the Marine Unit Commandant here on Good Morning Uganda, where he told us that they do their best, but they're under-resourced. And of course, by under-resourced, he said they don't have enough men and they do not have enough boats, and that some of these accidents, many of them, happen in the wee hours of the night. So we still have a predicament when it comes to Uganda's waters, but we hope that something can be done and that we can have a way to navigate these waters. But of course, I'm happy that the 20 were able to survive. At least we do not have a case of drowning and bodies not being found. That is on a high note. Now, I know that my team usually puts their ears to the ground and hear things that have happened in and around the country, and of course within the East African region. And I'm hoping that Sonko has something to share with us this morning.
Yeah, over the weekend when the residents petitioned the Prime Minister over land wrangles, this is something that we've clearly been able to, to discuss here last week. The land wrangles, of course, documentations. Everyone has good issues when it comes to land issues. So the people in Mubende feel the Prime Minister should step in, or the Office of the Prime Minister should step in clearly to help out. For example, in acquiring land titles, others are actually being evicted off their rightful land, which they believe is quite unlawful. And not only is it unlawful, but also quite rude and violent, because the people who normally take this land away from them actually just wake up in the morning with arms and security, and then they decide to evict innocent Ugandans, which most of the residents in Bwende feel the government should clearly intervene and create some safety for them. And it's something that we really need to discuss about when you come to think of how land wrangles have actually, damaged the land, or what I could say the Ministry of Lands in general, because of the way they don't actually take time to do scrutiny or to supervise what is happening on ground, especially deep-rooted areas in the country.
The land question in Uganda is one of the hardest to answer because it stretches. When you go to Mityana, there is issues there. When you go to Mukono, there's issues there. In very many municipalities and districts, you're going to find issues of land. And the fact that we have discussed these things, but we are not seeing action. 1, 2, 3, the office is temporarily closed, and the next thing it's open, and the next thing this person didn't have the capacity to send out the other one. it goes on and on and on, and it never gives us solutions. So I believe, yes, there is need for government intervention that is actually deliberate, and it's supposed to give us results.
When it comes to government intervention, the judiciary has done its part. I have seen judgments where the judiciary has stayed eviction of squatters from given pieces of land. But you see, some people know people, if you get what I'm saying. Some people, because they are well connected, they're going to abuse even the directive from, let's say, a judge and go ahead and evict people. And that's what we have. That's the problem we have, the arrogance of people who think that they're above the law. And that's where I think government should come in and humble these people. Because if the judiciary has said, do not evict people, until you go to court and you get a different ruling, you shouldn't be evicting anyone, right?
Very interesting, but you see, when you're talking about issues of land, even right from the Burico days, they were a very, very big problem. Now, when you have corruption in a country, when you have the world, more or less the animal farm, where all animals are equal, but some
animals.
So it becomes a very complicated issue. And the fact that if there is anything that is of value is now land. So unless you have very tight laws and they're enforced, but away from those, we even have people that government is evicting. Residents of Mubende over the weekend, those that were around the railway line were evicted by police and, of course, number of authorities there because they want to refurbish the railway line. Now, these, I don't know how they got this land. That is one thing.
They did
but
get
sometimes
the
I
land.
like the way our politicians foolishly foolishly incite people and never tell them the reality or the truth of the matter, you know. Temujavao, temuvao. But you know that if these people are occupying this land, whatever it is, they got it illegally.
Yes.
You know? Then you stand, I remember one time I had a member of parliament in Kampala Central telling people they wanted to renovate the taxi park. And was telling them to move out, to move agenda. One told them, don't pay licenses this time. At the end of the day, the poor people whom you would have told the truth, they prepare, they organize, or you help them get sympathy from government. You're just inciting them, you know? Stay there, we run a call. At the end of the day, police is deployed, you people.
And then we want to pay.
Sometimes even the army is deployed.
Yeah.
And these poor people cannot put up any resistance apart from going in pain.
And then we paint government in a bad
because
light.
of your foolishness sometimes and myopic thinking, your self-interest, you want to please them. You know, it hurts me. It hurts me.
But the
when I
same
saw
has
politicians
even
not
happened
being
in
real.
Kampala.
You know they are going to go. They don't have the power to resist. They can't fight and win the war. They may just win a few battles here and there. But instead of telling them, you people, how do we best bring in government to help you? You tell them to put up resistance.
I've seen the same happening in Kampala where the government will say that we are getting rid of hawkers from the streets, we want a clean Kampala. And then someone whom I won't mention, but someone who is big in Kampala really, goes onto the streets and tells hawkers, temuvao, temujagenda, babasubira mugenda kolerawa. And at the end of the day, you keep our city dirty, smelly, you keep our roads with kasasiro all over the place. As in, don't these people travel and admire what happens in cities elsewhere in the world? There is a big problem in this country, but we'll get to the bottom of it. For us here on Good Morning Uganda, we will not stop to mention these things. And if our politicians have ears, like the Bible says, they'll hear and change something. But anyway, we have a lot of stories, that is news stories, gathered for you, both on the local and international scene. And we will be delving into those right about now.
We'll begin with hundreds of students from higher institutes of learning and their administrators and members of the public embraced the National Council for Higher Education run as it prepares to celebrate 20 years of existence. The run, held at the National Council for Higher Education headquarters in Ntinda, was anchored on the theme protecting the environment in higher education institutions through proper e-waste management. The Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Education and Sports, Katie Lamoro, represented the Prime Minister.
Well, moving on, Bweranyangi Girls School in Uganda district is set to host the 2023 National Schools Debate Competition. The competition that starts 24th August for 4 days, at which more than 50 schools have already confirmed participation, is intended to train independent thinkers for the future. The best school will get a chance to visit the globally acclaimed Harvard University in the United States of America.
And we now look at issues regarding children, where the Executive Director, National Children's Authority, Martin Chiza, has offered childcare skills to students offering social works from Makerere University in Kampala.
And looking at issues special needs, regarding special needs education, the implementation of inclusive education for persons with disabilities faces significant barriers, including physical limitations, inadequate infrastructure, scarce learning resources, teacher capacity gaps, and prevailing stigma. These impediments have been underscored by a special needs education assessment survey in Kayunga district conducted by the Uganda National Self-Advocacy Initiative. The survey revealed that children with special needs remain among the most marginalized in society.
And crossing over to the international scene, Donald Trump has confirmed that he will not take part in Republican presidential debates with his rivals in the race for the White House. The ex-president said one latest poll showed he had legendary numbers ahead of other hopefuls to be the party's nominee for the 2024 election. The public knows who I am and what a successful presidency I had, Mr. Trump, 77, wrote in a post on social media. The first Republican presidential primary debate will be on 23rd August. The second debate can possibly follow the next day. At least 2 more debates are expected in the ensuing months. Voting in the Republican primary election begins in the state of Iowa that is on 15th January 2024, but more debates are likely to be held to help winnow the field. Moving on, people in Ecuador have voted in presidential and congressional elections overshadowed by violence. Some 100,000 police and soldiers were deployed to protect the polls. Left-winger Luisa Gonzalez and businessman Daniel Noboa took 33% and 24% of the vote respectively and will go through to a second round of voting according to partial results. Earlier this month, a presidential candidate was murdered. Others said shootings marred their campaigns. The snap election was called after President Guillermo Lasso, a conservative former banker, dissolved parliament to avoid impeachment. The new president will take office on 26th October and will serve only the remainder of Mr. Lasso's term, a year and a half. And moving on, Niger's coup leader has promised to return the West African nation to civilian rule within 3 years. General Abdurrahman Chiani made the announcement after meeting mediators from the West African Regional Bloc, ECOWAS, in the capital. ECOWAS has threatened military action to reverse last month's overthrow of President Mohamed Bazoum if talks fail. The junta head said that Niger did not want a war but would defend itself against any foreign intervention. If an attack were to be undertaken against us, it will not be a walk in the park, some people seem to think, he warned in his televised address on Saturday evening. Now, General Chiani also reiterated criticism of what he called the illegal and inhumane sanctions imposed by ECOWAS on the landlocked country. And speaking matters climate, Tropical Storm Hillary has reached Southern California, where millions of people are under flash flood warnings. It is the state's first tropical storm in 84 years and has already been described as an unprecedented weather event by the Los Angeles mayor. Hillary has so far brought strong winds of 119 kilometers per hour to Mexico's Baja California Peninsula, where one man died while trying to cross a stream in his car. Despite earlier stripping the storm of hurricane status, U.S. meteorologists have warned of the possibility of life-threatening flooding. Experts say recent abnormal weather events that have plagued the U.S. and other countries have been influenced by human-caused climate change.
Well, that's what we managed to gather for you this morning. We will be looking at the newspapers right about now.
And in our press review this morning, we start off with the Daily Monitor with a bigger headline here, which is saying Bitature ordered to pay 244 billion Ugandan shillings. That is according to the Daily Monitor. Is it a dead end for the businessman? As the International Chamber of Commerce Court of Arbitration in London, the United Kingdom has ordered Ugandan businessman Patrick Bitature, his wife, Carol Nzaro, and 4 of their companies to pay South African lender Vantage Mezzanine Fund, that is close to 65.7 million US dollars. That's approximately 244 billion Ugandan shillings. Now, also in the other news from the Daily Monitor, 3rd gold in bag to equal world record as Joshua Cheptegei roars in Budapest over the weekend. More details with the Daily Monitor today. Now, UPDF Kano draws gun on police officer. It's another report with the Daily Monitor. Furthermore, there are questions as Rwandan dies in CMI custody. That's also another big report. And then police impound car London with explosives. That is also with the Daily Monitor today, Monday. And then also in the other news, Sejirinya speaks out on illness as Turkey rounds up and detains 60 Ugandans. So you'll definitely find more of those with the Daily Monitor. Now, fast forward to the New Vision as we continue with our press review this morning. The London court, same headline. Different wordings. London court orders Bitature to pay back 130 billion Ugandan shillings. The Daily Monitor reported 244. Some changes with the New Vision here. Of course, the businessman borrowed money from South African lender and he has been ordered to repay back that money. Now also, Joshua Cheptegei wins 3rd world title. New Vision gives you the details this morning as ex-Mukono Land's boss loses case against New Vision. Then government loses 20 billion in Silk project. Furthermore, how to spot anxiety and prevent depression. There's a big report here with the New Vision today. And then also Bunyoro residents petition EOC over 500 acre land raw as the pesticide residue found in Nakanyonyi students and food has also been highlighted here. Then, as students are back for holidays, there is some holiday work for Senior 2, Senior 3, and Senior 2 and Senior 3. Physics, math, and the rest. That's it for the press review this morning.
Sonko, speaking of physics and mathematics, I know not many journalists were good at these subjects. I wonder this morning, should I name and shame? Were you good or were you not?
You know, I wasn't really good at chemistry, by the way. Chemistry. I think I lost it in Form 2. Chemistry. That is when I lost it and I knew I'm not even taking it anywhere. I think it was my worst performed subject. At Senior 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Next 2 of us.
You know, next 2 of us.
Yes.
Even
That's 2 of them. Should I add a 3rd one to make 9, 9 and 9?
And you know what is very interesting? Even people watching us there. We were in the same boat. Very few of you.
How do you know that?
I've woken up. Very few of you. Let's not pretend. Let's be very honest. How many of you?
But I have a sister whose best subject has always been chemistry. From the word go.
No doubt, those are many and
Some of
they're there.
those people
but
make
there
the
are
rest
so
of
many
us look bad.
that really had that challenge. And the worst would be when you're revising for that at the last minute. you know, people who used to do sciences usually don't revise that were good in sciences because they're more practical.
Yes.
You would not revise at the last minute. But you get it, you're there at the last
not
minute.
like say
You know, there was also a paper of objectives. You just circle. So those were papers some of us would just
Sonko
go
was
in.
another problem.
Sonko was-
Inshallah. So-
Much gambling.
Sonko was a
This is
problem.
not allowed.
It was just gambling. But anyway, if you are good at physics or arts or whatever you are good at, today that doesn't really matter. What matters is that you're doing what you're doing today to put food on the table. But if you are a student, especially in lower secondary school, you need to be very good at science subjects because the future is actually sciences. So do your best and the rest God will handle. Now this is still Good Morning Uganda. We are going to take a short break. We'll leave you with the inspiration song of the day and we will be right back. But when we come back, we will have a discussion on how best government poverty alleviation projects can be well implemented, and we would like for you to join that conversation when we come back. You're shining and that you're bright and that you're looking upon the week that has started today with hope, and of course that you're happy, you are cheering, you are excited about a new beginning in your life. I'm Olive Monica Najuma and I am with the awesome team that is Kandinda and of course Joram Paul Sonko, and the man today, he doesn't have his coffee. I don't know what happened, but yes, the man who loves to take Ugandan coffee and Ugandan milk, that is Chirabo Robert Nyonyi. Yes, we are here to usher you into this beautiful week and of course take you through all the week up to Friday. We do this every morning, 6:30 to 9 a.m. And of course, if you're I'm sure you're excited and happy because our man Joshua Cheptegei did us a good one. He won his third gold in Budapest over the weekend. Now, I know I don't follow sports very closely, but when it comes to things like that, trust me, I'm watching and I'm following. I don't know if Chantal is like me and if she's excited as I am.
Well, I was excited. I mean, three-time champion, and it's very good for Uganda. It's putting us out there, and also very good for Cheptegei. I would like to appreciate his consistency. Earlier in the studio, we were talking about it with Sonko and the rest that we've seen people like Inzikuru, and we've seen others that have given us. He called it a one-night stand.
For lack of a better word.
One-night stand.
But I didn't want to actually sound more rude, I should say.
You were trying to be more polite.
Yeah, more polite. But I think, like you said, the consistency of Cheptegei,
yes.
Jacob Kiplimo, by the way,
Yes,
as well. Those are some of the people you look at and exactly see that consistency puts you somewhere there.
Right, and they've really done it. They've really shown us that this can be done. But good morning, Uganda. Welcome to the show. My name is Chantal Olive Akandinda, and I'm super glad to be here with you. I look forward to spending the weekend, the week with you.
You know, it does seem like the weekend was so good.
Someone's mind is still in the weekend.
And of course, good morning, Uganda. Many thanks for joining us yet again. It's a brand new week, and we are swiftly taking over the month of August. I think we are left with only 2 weeks now.
Actually,
Literally
when I was coming while driving to work, I was listening to a local radio station, and someone said the month of August is like Joshua Cheptegei. Sweet.
It's almost done. We are, yeah, it's actually a week now.
Yeah.
By next week, we shall already be able to prepare for the month of September. But good morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's keep inspiring you here on Good Morning Uganda.
Well, Chiravo, I don't know what happened. Why is it that I don't see a cup with you? Good morning.
Oh, really, the weekend was a bit so busy, and of course later on it must come. Definitely, trust me, when it comes to Ugandan coffee, but there's something that is running in my mind. We have a 3-time world champion.
Yes.
What are we how are we taking advantage of this as Uganda? For us to watch football, I don't believe the Premier League is the best league in the world. You know?
It is.
People who watch soccer will tell you that if you want real football, well, they'll give you other leagues where you can find. I don't want to believe that David Beckham or Wayne Rooney were really the best of their time. But these people know how to promote, how to brand, how to take advantage. Remember how we wore clothes of David Beckham?
Back in the time. The marketing is up there.
The marketing, you know. Now we have a three-time.
Consecutively.
How do we take advantage? How do we boost every Ugandan by now? Okay, by the closure of today, at least we should have this shirt sold on the streets.
Oh, we should have parents naming their children Cheptegei.
And people,
best believe
that may not happen because it has a tribe connection, maybe Joshua, but
Ugandans.
You have those streets, you have the t-shirts, you know. We should be proud, we should promote.
Project entered in strategic areas of government, but that it has created a base for the now last mile strategy, which is the parish development model. And therefore this base that it has left will help us actually, and I'm sure we'll get better results in a Chole area and Ajumani when we are implementing the parish development model.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas.
Then we watched the cup final in London.
Oh.
On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yeah, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning-fast speeds and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Thank you so much for staying with us here on Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najuma, and I am with Joram Paul Sonko and Chantal Olive Akandinda. It is the hour of 7. Time check is 2 minutes past 7 in the morning. We welcome you again on Good Morning Uganda. Now, if you have just joined us, we do this every morning from Monday to Friday, 6:30 in the morning to 9 a.m. So if you're joining us for the very first time, you're welcome. And if you are one of the people that are always with us every single day from Monday to Friday, thank you so much for keeping it UBC TV and of course Good Morning Uganda. Now today on Good Morning Uganda, we would like to have a conversation regarding the government's projects or poverty alleviation programs through the years. We know that the NRM government has been very pivotal and focused on alleviating poverty from Uganda, and it has done this through bringing up projects like Entandikwa, Bonabagagawale, Parish Development Model, Youth Livelihood Program, and many more. And all of these have been focused or aimed at alleviating poverty and helping Ugandans to move to middle income status. Now, how far has the government gone? What challenges has it faced? This is the conversation we want to have. And of course, we would like for you to join the conversation through our WhatsApp number that we will display on your screen later on, but I can actually share it. It is 0709602592. You can send us a message on WhatsApp and share your views regarding how best can government poverty alleviation projects or programs be well implemented. Now, I would like to go to the team, and I would start from the beginning, because there is a reason why the government has been, over the years, since the inception of the NRM government, has tried to move Ugandans from poverty. And I would like to start with you, Chantal. And the question here I'm asking, and I think every Ugandan is wondering, why does the government come up with programs like Parish Development Model, Emyoga, Youth Livelihood, Entandikwa, Bonabagagawale? What's the rationale for these projects?
Ideally, when you listen to the conversation that borders these projects, it is to alleviate poverty and to change the lives of the Ugandans. However, when you try to do more research and think about these projects, and also I was reading a report by an NGO. This NGO did this report in 2019, and according to this particular NGO, when you look at the times these projects are implemented, it's close to the elections, and I hope you know what that means when I say close to the election period. And in a way, it makes sense. In a way. So it means that sometimes these projects are politicized. However, the major reason, the rationale, like you put it, is to alleviate poverty from the Ugandans. That is the reason that is put forward and brought forward. The only challenge I see is that most of these projects are really marred with a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of institutional corruption, and a lot of lack of sensitization. And that is where my biggest problem is. But the reason is to alleviate poverty. The only other challenge is that most of them are implemented, and some run for like about 5 years and there is no result, and then we go to another project that comes through. Still, according to this particular report in 2019, 68% of Ugandans were living out of the money economy. Yet these projects that have been implemented since time immemorial, we're talking about the likes of 1996, we're talking about 2007, but by 2019, we still have about 68% of Ugandans living out of the money economy. And you're wondering, these projects that were implemented between then and 2019, what were they doing?
Okay, so now that you raised that question, one wonders, where is the problem? Because the primary focus is good, alleviate poverty, help Ugandans to move to the middle income status. So where do we lose the ball? At what point, because the money is released, someone comes up with a problem statement, they come up with a solution, they release the funds, but then Ugandans are still living outside the money economy. Where do we lose the ball?
We lose the ball from the implementation. First and foremost, I think it's because once money is disbursed a couple of times, it is not going directly to the people. For example, if I'm to use the parish development model, where money goes through circles. Now, some of the government projects, like Chantal has mentioned, is to make sure that Ugandans get into the money economy. Or to alleviate the poverty is to ensure that at least people cease from doing subsistence activities, but also try to do things that can bring in more money for them, that can sustain them for the longevity of time as it can take. But then the issue has always been the implementation, especially on ground. That is why a couple of times the Ministry of Finance comes out to reveal that with the parish development model, there will be a difference. Money will be reaching directly to the people. Because initially with other programs, of course with the Entandikwa, we've got Bonabagagawale, there are people who benefited from it, there are those who never. But for those who never benefited, we'll clearly tell you the biggest challenge of implementation first is lack of awareness, because some of the Ugandans have less information about how they are going to achieve from these projects. At times they know or hear about these projects via television or on radio, but then they never get to know how to tap into these funds. And that is where the implementation starts. Awareness. How do you let people know, or different individuals, that we do have this particular project, we do have this amount of money, this is how you're going to get it, and through who? Because if we had to look at the awareness angle, we really need to put a lot of efforts in there to ensure that Ugandans know that if we have 2 billion Ugandan shillings, which has been disbursed this quarter of the financial year, and it's going to this particular program or government project, then how are we going to be able to achieve it? Or how are we rather going to be able to get this money? How are we going to utilize this money, and where are we going to get it? So I think the implementation, first of all, starts with making sure that we are informed. But that is where we are failing at from the start.
Okay. And of course, we need to also look at management. Yes, there is the implementation, there is management and accountability. How are we doing when it comes to accountability? Case in point, parish development model. We have seen almost every month a story of officials that have been arrested because they stole funds. This money has been being stolen from inception. If you go on Google and just put in parish development model funds stolen, you're going to get a multitude of stories from different districts across the board where money has been stolen. So why is it that we have trouble when it comes to accountability?
Well, you're going to look at the people that are put in the implementation offices or given the implementation power. If you're put under such a project and your integrity is questionable, then that means you are going to be the reason as to why this implementation gets hiccups. Look at people that we saw a report over the weekend of the chiefs that were arrested in Mitoma over the parish development model money. Now, the other challenge I'm finding is that most Ugandans do not know that they are supposed to access this money or access these services free of charge. When you read through that report, people were charged 50,000 to have access, apparently, which access they did not get. Now, look at this Ugandan who you're charging 50,000, but supposed to be getting about 2 million. At one point, we had a discussion off air about how much was being given to these circles and to these and some to individuals, and it was about 2 million Uganda shillings. And of course, the other question was the person you're giving 2 million Uganda shillings, but then you're picking money from them. If they can't afford the 2 million that ideally some people in Kampala here would afford in just a snap, how do you expect them to put in money to get? That means if I am looking at 2 million as some money I don't have anywhere to invest myself, and then that person who doesn't have access to that 2 million, what are you doing to them? So people are not aware of how they should be getting that money, how the systems work. Takes you down to when they are planning implementation or even planning these projects, is there a section where people are actually put in the know of how the system works, of how they should be getting this money? But also there is another reason that I have seen that usually disturbs implementation, and that is the administrative costs. And I think usually as they are planning and putting these projects in place, they're not considering the costs, the administrative costs that are going to be incurred. I remember very well what happened with COVID-19 when the food was being supplied, the beans and the posho were being supplied. The truth is the money that was spent in the logistics and distribution of these items was more than the money that was budgeted for even for the food that was supplied. So it goes back down to, are we planning with a business mindset? If you as someone who's putting these projects in place are not planning with the mindset of business and trying to reduce those costs that you're going to be incurring, I don't even know if they consider them, then what makes you believe that that project is going to work? Because it lacks the business element.
I find it hard to believe that the people that are involved in planning and implementing, but let's go back to the planning. The people that budget the costs, that budget for the implementation costs, don't know what they're doing. You can't tell me that you're supposed to give out 500 million Uganda shillings, but 300 of that is
into administrative costs.
Administrative costs. It doesn't make sense. So for me and to many Ugandans out there, it would look like people who are trying to get a penny from money that is not meant to be theirs. But how do you do that? Spread it around and make it look like the administration costs are way too high. Hire ghost staff, because we have seen these scandals. Money is released, there is a project, and before you know it, you start hearing scandals of ghost people were given money. We had ghost staff. And if we do not walk away from the mindset of for God and my stomach, we are going to suffer more as a country. And it explains the statistic that she shared with us, that 68% of Ugandans in 2019 were living outside the money economy. Now, the programs
currently we have 39.
Now?
That's according to what...
that is as of 2023. Now, this report was as of 2019.
But it's still a high number. 39% of Ugandans as of 2023 living outside the money economy. With all these programs.
Projects, yes.
Yes. But also the other issue I would like us to look at. Most times we hear we have parish development model, but we also heard about Emyoga, we heard about Gagawale. Aren't these projects overlapping?
No, you see, Emyoga, let's get back to him. Emyoga is also a wealth creation, a wealth and job creation project by government. And when you look at some of the projects that have actually successfully, recorded some numbers. Some of the people who have actually benefited from Emyoga say they benefited how? It had fewer interest rates, especially for people in business. Those who would go to micro finance support centers, those who would go to given circles that were registered. They believe that at least Emyoga helped them, especially women in business, because they believe that this time round, the interest rates, if you're getting this particular money, because it's more like you're going in for money, you go in for these loans, the interest rates were payable and quite realistic. I think we should as well also mention about how government needs to create the favorable room for anyone who is interested in investing in small businesses to blossom. We need to at least create interest rates that are a little bit more friendly. So, because according to some of the reports, for those who have actually benefited from Emyoga, they believe that this one was a little bit more of a lifesaver for them, especially during COVID.
Yes.
Because for those who are at least benefited from it, they believe government created some structures which included low interest rates for them. So that means if government also looks at such things because we have people who want to go in for these particular programs, get these government loans, but the issue has always been as well why some people are actually shunning away from banks, commercial, or even the UDB, is because at times the money they're supposed to pay back has got a huge interest. So when we talk about the government programs as well, we need to look at these structures that are going to help small business owners, because we are really trying to get people off the subsistence economy of only benefit, or let's say working for the day. We want to see people working for the future as well, and creating that, because according to the NRM government, this particular term, it is about securing your future. So we have the Emyoga now, we have the PDM, all of these pillars, if you look at the pillars of the PDM, for example, you get to realize that all of them are mainly or centered around productivity. There's also commercial agriculture. It's all about the money. But how sustainable can it be? So I think we also need to look at the interest rates that's as of now that also favor or create a business environment for people who are going in for some of these loans through the government programs.
I will go back. We touched upon sensitization for a bit, but I would like for us to expound on that. For instance, when government rolled out in Tandikwa, many farmers that received the money at the time believed that it was a gift from the NRM government. Others believe that it was the government appreciating them for having supported the NRM government into coming into power. But what should we do to ensure that before these programs are rolled out, that people are well sensitized? Where is the government supposed to put more emphasis before they roll out the money to begin with?
Mindset change.
And how do we do the mindset
because
change?
You see, you look at how these programs are rolled out at times. They're either towards or after.
So are you saying the programs
if
are
the program
rushed?
is coming in after the elections, some people may think it's the Thanksgiving to the government. But of course, at times you get to realize Thanksgiving from the government for voting them. But again, at times you realize that this is always in the manifesto of the presidential candidate, by the way.
Yes.
Because the president, President Museveni, who is now ruling, had already written all this in his manifesto, presenting to the Ugandans. So that means when you're seeking for a vote, you're presenting a manifesto of which people are going to either choose to deliberately go for another person or follow what you've written in your manifesto and believe your words. So I think the mindset change should be letting Ugandans know that first, it's not a Thanksgiving from the president, but it's rather him implementing what he promised.
Shouldn't we also question why these things are shown in the manifesto? For instance, if you know you have a 5-year term, I know you need to promise people something, but shouldn't these programs be rolled out and be separated from politics?
Ideally, they should be separated from politics, but the person who is the initiator of these projects is a politician. He's the president of the country, and he's really strategic, because if I've given you a 5-year plan and close to the end of the 5 years, I'm implementing some of the things I have been promising. Been promising. That is very strategic.
And that makes the entire project fail, because if you're going to start implementing it towards the end, then it means it doesn't have enough time for germination.
No, I think the issue is, I once had a discussion with someone working with the Office of the National Chairman, and the discussion was that at times when they roll out these programs, for example, the Emyoga, when you roll it out, for example, in the financial year 2022-2023, you have to give it a time frame to study. How has it worked?
Right.
You have to follow up. Now, in the first disbursement, that happens. Now, for example, the parish development model is entering the second financial year.
Yes.
We did have issues with the first financial year. Now we have another one coming. This is 2023, 2024. So you study, how has it done? Where are the loopholes? So remember, it's 5 years. Now, you never know how fast these 5 years are going to run for a leader. You get to realize that in the first 2 years, you're looking through to see how has it worked and everything. Now, in the third year, you start implementing something new. So that means by the time we are into the 5th year of your campaign, your term, you realize you've only achieved maybe 1, 2, 3 of the 6 you promised.
But Sonko, I have this question right now. We've had all these projects that have been, put forward since time immemorial. Let's go back to 1997, go back to 2007, and all these years where we've had these projects being brought forward. Should we now say that we've not learned from the mistakes of the previous projects? Because yes, there is the period where you have to study, but we can't keep having the same mistakes happening in every project that is brought up. We can't keep having institutional corruption in all the projects. That means there is a loophole that has not been identified, or it has been identified but has not been given consideration over the projects that have been put in place.
And I think it's the people issue, the ones in place. I think it's the most recurring, the human resource. It's the management part. I think it's the most recurring issue we have. The people who are supposed to give the money.
They are
you taking it.
But if I gave you an office, Sonko, and you mismanaged it, and then I gave you another office and you mismanaged it, isn't it time?
I give you another
Thank you. Isn't it time I actually put you out of my options of people that I can use to put in office? See, if implementation has been sabotaged over and over again.
Then we look into the recruitment
Then,
process.
yes, we need to look into who, because I usually say President Museveni is very well intended, has these brilliant projects and plans he has and the vision he has for the country. But then the people that are implementing are letting him down. So the question is, why don't we go back and first clean out these people from these projects?
They are actually not the same people. You'll find that the people in charge of Emyoga are not the people that were in charge of Entandikwa, and not the people in charge of the parish development model. But the challenge we have is that we have not learned from the mistakes of the past.
Yes.
We keep going and going. But if you have a project and it fails, you need to go back and look at the factors that made the project fail. Now, from those factors that made the project fail, you learn new lessons and you learn what not to do next time. But it looks like we keep doing the same thing over and over and over. If you studied French, European history, there is a king who was referred to as old wine in a new bottle. And unfortunately, for most of these projects, it feels the same. It feels
same script, different
exactly
cast.
same script, different cast every single 5 years, because it is usually around 5 years we have a new one,
Right.
5 years we have a new one. But anyway, please join the conversation. Let's have a conversation regarding how best government poverty alleviation programs can be implemented. You can send us a message through WhatsApp number 0709 602 592. I repeat, the WhatsApp number is 0709 602 592, and the question we are asking this morning is how best can government poverty alleviation projects be implemented? I have a few comments from some people on WhatsApp, and the first one says, I am Nsubuga Godfrey from Jinja. The government has done nothing to local Ugandans deep in villages. It's people who are under politics in divisions and local councils plus facilitators are enjoying government money. Local Ugandans are still crying. And Yasin from Mutukula says, government, please build training skills schools to youths to prevent poverty in Uganda. Thanks for your information regarding PDM. Omoro has not got PDM leaders, leaders are not informing the community about this project, so it's a failure. And Silva from Mutukula says, good morning. These project ideas were majorly borrowed from China and India. The problem is one, we only copied the model structure, but we did not take up the management tools for these programs to ensure their impact on targeted society. What we are experiencing now is a result of a wrong approach to management of these programs. Thank you so much for your contribution. And this one says, good morning, Olive, Chantal and Sonko. Government started up all those projects with a real intention of rescuing people from poverty. Kudos there. But honestly, they have not yielded to the expectations. It benefits only a few sections of people, and to find out those beneficiaries might be relatives of people in the government. Secondly, nationals also have a big bias on such projects due to issues like the long process to access that money, terms and conditions. People who give out that money are also corrupt, and want to gain, they must first corrupt them. And lastly, money to be distributed always seem to be very little. He put this in caps, compared to the number of people willing to receive. Some end up receiving as little as 50,000 after passing through all that long process. So people deliberately boycotted these programs and let the government enhance the whole system. This is Cricket Derek Gagamel from Makinde, Luafu. And the next says we should allow young people, especially university graduates, get exposed to money and policies as early as possible. They shouldn't get onto the wall before they are involved in these programs and end up squandering any resources available to them. As Rural Empowerment and Skilling Network, we are running a project that aims at helping young people start up their own enterprises early enough to understand the nitty-gritty of business and financial management in the future. We can change the trajectory together. This is Namisi Bruno Ignatius from Wakiso. And Joel from Kumi says, government started the project with an intention, but people in charge are corrupt. Thank you so much for your views. Please keep them coming in. We would like to know what your opinions are regarding how best government poverty alleviation programs can be well implemented in Uganda. If you're just joining us, the WhatsApp number where you can share your views is 0709602592. Please join the conversation. We would like to hear from you. Now, the comments have been many. And there is someone who said government should take the youth through skilling programs before they give them the money. What do you think about that?
He's right, but again, it's going to take more use of money to skill them up. But he's right. Why? Because the young people, my age, let me just use myself as
yeah, that's a very good question if you're young, but you know, let's proceed.
If the young people my age need serious skill up in regards to money management matters, I will tell you, there's a comment, I don't know, is it from Mukono, where a gentleman has mentioned that government has done nothing for them deep in the villages.
That was Omoro.
Omoro.
Yes.
He was also right, because you get to realize in our country, most people don't benefit from these things. But the skilling is, you do realize once these young people in those areas get 1 million or 2 million shillings, there are some reports that once a young man gets that money, the very first thing that will cross their mind is start up a family. And it's, you know,
he has got money to pay bride price.
Exactly. Or to buy land, let's say. Start up, because in some areas land is not that expensive anyway. Or if at all you can at least set up, some of the parents have already given them land, they try to set up a building, you have your wife, kickstart up a family. That is where most of them have. And that is the issue, whereby the government has always been pushing so that Ugandans stop feeling comfortable when it comes to living in the subsistence economy of a million. You have 2 million. Yes, it may not be enough money for you to start up, but you can easily use it to do something. So government needs to do the skill up, like they've mentioned in one of the comments, especially among the young people, to let them know that if you have 2 million, stop thinking about what that 2 million can get you now.
As of now, invest in the future.
You know, think about what you can do to produce more out of the 2 million.
And tell you what, Sonko, I don't know if you've taken part in farming, but I do take part in some farming projects, and 2 million, because at some point President Museveni was saying we are trying to get out of this subsistence farming shenanigans that we have. We need to now think commercial agriculture. And in some of those areas in the distant parts of the country, it's actually very possible for you to invest 2 million Uganda shillings and get money out of it and then keep reinvesting. But how many people have access to information like I've just shared of you can invest, then the money you get out, you invest back? Do they know that that actually happens? You understand?
In most cases, someone will start a business with 2 million shillings, and when they make sales and they have an extra 500,000, which is the profit, it's not even yet profit, they will start thinking, the business is making money. Now they're going to start spending that money, yet your business is still in red. You're not there yet. That's where the commenter who said the youth need to be exposed to money matters.
Financial literacy.
Financial literacy.
Yes.
These are things that I personally think are supposed to even now be taught in schools. Like, how do you handle a business? Let's get away from theory. Because if you are to look at children who go to, let's say, local schools, vis-a-vis children who go to international schools, you are going to see a difference,
yes.
in the reasoning. And these are the same children, maybe even same genes. I could have 3 kids and one of them is in an international school and 2 are in a local school. But the way they handle and they teach these children is different. What am I trying to say? Maybe we need to make a few changes in the way we teach. For instance, we have economics in A-level. The way we teach economics, maybe it needs to be switched up a bit so that people understand money matters even more. We used to study entrepreneurship, but it was usually things that are basic, okay? Let's get to having the conversation, investment, savings, reinvestment, so that when now the children are out of school and the government starts giving them money, they know what they're doing. Otherwise, we are going to have the same problem where people are given money and they just get married. People are given money and they think the government is thanking them for voting. Yet they have problems that are already staring at them in the face. We have a few more comments. This one says, Esther from Kumi, the government has completely done nothing. The government is only feeding its workers. 20th, I'm 20, but I have not seen anything the government has done. So she's trying to say she's a youth. And this person says, good morning, Uganda. It is true that accessing PDM is free of charge, but assuring people who want to benefit from parish development model that PDM doesn't buy files for the group to be distributed to most relevant offices. 2, PDM doesn't distribute papers to be filled. You have to photocopy. PDM doesn't give transport to the leaders of the enterprise and etc. that is needed. So my advice, let people contribute for what he has listed. If someone wants to access parish development model funds freely without photocopying, transport, buying files, you'll never get PDM. But also, government should recruit parish chiefs who know computer, who have computer skills. It has given people it has made people delay. Okay, he's trying to say it has delayed getting the money, and other places have volunteers who are helping people, which also gives beneficiaries to keep buying these people lunch. I will paraphrase. He's trying to say that there are small fees people may have to pay to access PDM, like photocopying, buying files, but also says that officials that are supposed to traverse, to canvass different areas and get people to know more about parish development model are not given transport. So sometimes I think that's why they end up asking for the 50,000, like those in Mitoma, and that ended up being arrested. So thank you so much for your contribution. This one says, I'm a Kantorana from Barara. Thank you for the program. In a nutshell, refer to Luke 13:28-30. For which of you wishing to build a house does not first sit down and calculate the cost to see whether he has sufficient means to sustain it? I like that one. Basically, in a nutshell, he has referred us to Luke. Yeah. Plan, sit down and plan. And he's taking us back to the point where we said the administration costs cannot be more than the money that is supposed to be distributed. Right. It doesn't make sense. So if someone is making a budget and this is the budget they are coming up with, then they are bad at their job. Someone is not doing the job that is supposed to be done. And this person continues and says, another thing is the beneficiaries be educated before the funds are out. Good morning, family. Prince K from Kawempe. I think the government has done nothing to develop and implement strong strategies for SACCOs put in place to avoid mistakes that have been made previously. Lastly, there should be specific job opportunities for both graduates and non-graduates from government projects or programs to stop imbalances in their startup businesses. And Joel from Kumi says, government has implemented very good projects, but the problem, people in the villages are not well sensitized, like the Imyoga. Us in Kumi, very few benefited, but again, parish development model has been brought. These projects should be studied well. And this one says, government should work hand in hand with the official for strict follow-up to avoid and prevent corruption, first to ensure the money is well allocated. And he says they should alienate themselves of the saying that tomorrow caters for its own. This is Kabila from Mbali. We appreciate your contribution. Thank you so much for being a part of this newsreel. Thank you so much for always joining us every single morning here on Good Morning Uganda and sharing your views. We will be taking a short break, and when we come back, we will have something else to handle. This is still Good Morning Uganda.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas.
Then we watched the cup final in London. On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yes, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning fast speed and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access, and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages, and they buy with their own prices. They'll go there and set prices for you, and yet you are the ones who have produced this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges, so farmers can now reach market.
Ensangi zino amaka gaffe tegakyali kifo gye tusula busuzi. Waafuuka ekifo we tukolera enkiiko z'emirimu, we tusomera, we twenywereza mu byokwerinda, era we tusanyukira. Ebintu bino byonna okutambula obulungi weetaaga internet eyasigika. Weefunire router ya MTN Wakanet esobola okuyungako ebyuma 32 ofune bando ya GB 4 ez'obwereere ku mitwalo 14,900 zokka. Obagula MTN Wakanet MiFi ku mitwalo 7.5 zokka ofune bando ya GB 15 ey'obwereere onyumirwa omutimbagano gwa internet. Genda ku maduuka ga MTN ogule MTN Wakanet MiFi oba router onyumirwa internet ekola ebyewuunyisa.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
All right, good morning again, and many thanks for joining us once more here on Good Morning Uganda. It is that time of the day where we definitely get into our traffic updates of the day to clearly give you a roadmap of how you can easily maneuver through the traffic madness. Of a Monday morning. Yes, Olive, what do you have in the traffic updates today?
About traffic madness, obviously, my mind takes me back to the events of the weekend where the police decided to start and try out the breathalyzers. Now, if you were drinking and driving, I'm sure you didn't have a good time, because now driving under the influence of alcohol will, again, like it was before COVID-19, bring you into trouble. So you need to exercise vigilance, really. Why are you drinking and driving? Why? You're putting your life and those other road users at risk. So over the weekend, some people didn't have really a good time because police meant business. But anyway, away from that, we are looking at traffic updates this morning. And if you're coming from the areas of Namugongo through Charlie Wajala and then Nalia to the heart of town, we would like to guide you through how you can move along that road and see how you can avoid traffic, or where you should expect traffic. Now, looking at Namugongo Road, way up from Shell Charlie Wajala, there is a smooth traffic flow there, and you will find just a little bit of traffic around the Namugongo Uganda Matters Shrine, but it doesn't look bad at all. It's because of the roads that are joining the main road. And when you move on, there is no traffic there. You will be able to step on those pedals and be able to move in record time. Now, when you reach the trading center, that is where you'll find Namugongo Road, and of course the road that comes from Chira side and Charlie, then crossing through to Nalia, you're going to find a little bit of a hold up, because yeah, there is usually that T-junction. There is usually traffic because the road is narrow and oncoming traffic is usually a lot. So you will find yourself delayed there for a bit of time. But if you're moving to the areas of Chireka, it looks good. There is smooth flow of traffic, so you won't be held up. And if I look at feeder roads that join the main road, like Chisosonkole Road, it looks all good, so you will be able to move smoothly. Now, crossing over into the road that goes to Nalia, around Lifelink Hospital, up ahead at Marco's Gym, Quality Supermarket, there is a smooth flow of traffic. It looks like people were either able to move very early in the morning, or they're still in their homes, because there is no traffic hold up at all. Even the green zone I see right after Quality Supermarket is not worrying. It's something you can be able to maneuver within a few minutes and you're able to move. But then when you go up ahead, before you join the bypass, there is some bit of traffic there around Mogas Nalia. There is, I see orange zones there, but it's not worrying. It is still just a few minutes of your time and you will be able to move. Now, when we reach Nalia roundabout, yeah, there at the roundabout, there is some bit of traffic, I think brought up by roads that are joining the bypass to come out either through the bypass going the side of Chisasi or go to the side of Ntinda. So there is a traffic hold up right at the roundabout itself. But after you've come through the roundabout heading to Chiwatule, then the road looks good. There is smooth flow of traffic. When you reach Majwara Road, where you find an intersection of the road that comes from Chiwatule joining this T junction that takes you to Ntinda, then there is some bit of traffic there. You may be, you will spend a bit of time there. So if you're moving, you should be moving now before it becomes too much. Now moving on to Chiwatule Road. Yes, around Yakobos, I see a lot of traffic coming in from Valley Road, Cannon Road. Many people are there held up. That road has potholes. So in most cases, you're going to find yourself held up there because there are many feeder roads coming through, but there are many potholes and the output route is one. So most times you're going to find yourself held up. And of course, there are many humps around there because I see around St. Francis Primary School there is a bit of a traffic hold up, and it's usually because of the many humps that are around that area. But moving along to Old Chira Road, there is around Kampala Independent Hospital. Yes, there are orange zones there which shows that traffic is starting to build up around there. So if you're in the areas of Ntinda, this is the time you need to hit the road as soon as possible, because it looks like it's getting busier and busier. Now, if we look at the road that comes in from Chisasi joining the main road in Ntinda, yeah, there are deep red zones there around Baba TV. So that means the traffic is intense there. And of course, when you move ahead around Frayne Supermarket, we know that there are traffic lights there, so they will keep you there for a bit. I see deep red zones around there as well, even on Semawata Road. So you need to plan your route. Maybe you can use the other diversion routes within Ntinda. But moving along around Hardware World, the traffic lets up a bit, so you should be able to move. But then you're still going to find deep red zones, which indicate that there is some bit of a hold up, and it could be something deeper when you get to Ntinda 2 Road that joins the main road around the patio. So you need to plan carefully, and the traffic goes on along Chira Road up until Victoria Hospital, and even after it doesn't look good at all. So yeah, plan carefully, plan very well, because it seems like many people are on the road. So it explains the smooth flow of traffic back there. It means that many people had moved earlier and now they find themselves stuck in traffic along Chira Road. Now when you move along to still along Chira Road and you're going to the side of Kamocha, there seems to be smooth flow of traffic. So yeah, there the traffic has let up, and when you go into the heart of town, you're going to find that around Mulago Hill Road there is some traffic, and of course the traffic that comes from Binaisa Road is intense. Around a roundabout in at Chira Road there is intense traffic going to Haji Musa Kasule Road, and of course going to Buganda Road, and there is more traffic along Chadondo Road. So you need to plan your route carefully. That's it for the traffic updates this morning. We will be taking a short break, and when we come back, we will look at the dailies, and of course, we have a special feature for you on Good Morning Uganda.
Ensangi zino amaka gaffe tegakyali kifo gye tusula busuzi. Waafuuka ekifo we tukolera enkiiko z'emirimu, we tusomera, we twenywereza mu byokwerinda, era we tusanyukira. Ebintu bino byonna okutambula obulungi weetaaga intaneti eyasigika. Weefunire router ya MTN Wakanet esobola okuyungako ebyuma 32 ofune bando ya GB 4 ez'obwereere ku mitwalo 14,900 zokka. Obagula MTN Wakanet MiFi ku mitwalo 7.5 zokka ofune bando ya GB 15 ey'obwereere onyumirwa omutimbagano gwa internet. Genda ku maduuka ga MTN ogule MTN Wakanet MiFi oba router onyumirwa internet ekola ebyewuunyisa.
Good morning, Uganda, and many thanks for sticking around with us here this particular morning. We have 6 minutes to the hour of 8 o'clock. But before we go on to that, let's get back to our local dailies from Uganda and as well look at what is happening across the East African region, still from the perspective of print media in our press review this morning. Starting with the New Vision, a London court orders Bitature to pay back 130 billion Ugandan shillings. That is according to what the New Vision is highlighting. The businessman borrowed money from a South African lender and he's supposed to be paying it back. Now, besides that, government loses over 208 billion shillings in Silk project. That is according to what the New Vision is highlighting this morning. Then also how to spot anxiety and prevent depression. There's a detailed report of that with the New Vision. And elsewhere, Cheptegei wins 3rd world title. Read about Joshua Cheptegei today with the New Vision. And in the other news, Bunyoro residents petition EOC over 500-acre land raw. That's another report by the New Vision. And also in regards to marriage and regulations, no proof of adultery, no divorce. This is according to what the court has ruled. So you can easily get more of that report with the New Vision today. Now elsewhere with the Daily Monitor, still looking at the press review, and what has been reported is that Bitature ordered to pay 244 billion Ugandan shillings. Then elsewhere, 3rd gold in bag to equal world record. That is it for the 2023 World Athletics Championship, as Joshua Cheptegei became the 4th man in history to win 3 successive world 10,000 meters titles. He did that in Budapest yesterday. Of course, we continue to congratulate him. And then also in the other news with the Daily Monitor, UPDF Kano draws gun on police officer. That is also in the Daily Monitor today. Then there are questions as Rwandan dies in CMI custody. That report is also with the Daily Monitor. Then furthermore, police impound car London with explosives. The Daily Monitor says so today. Elsewhere now, as we look at the East African community, in Kenya, the Daily Nation highlights a stolen dream. This is according to a devolution at 10. Corruption, which is the noble vision of the framers of the Constitution to decentralize services to the people, has been marred by instances of devolved graft. So I think you get to realize how corruption is becoming a key issue in East Africa. Now elsewhere, President Ruto moves to counter Raila influence in Gusii region. There's a report of that in the Daily Nation today. Then also, banks reject increase of cash steals to 2 million Kenyan shillings. Then also in the perspective of sports, Simiyu shines. Kenya's Daniel Simiyu celebrates after clinching 2nd position to the men's 10,000 meters. He was the runners-up to that Joshua Cheptegei win. And in the security part, Interpol deals blow to cyber criminals. That is according to the Daily Nation. Now, as we're summing up with the dailies today morning, we take a look at what the Citizen in Tanzania is reporting. Farming shines as July investments hit 427 million US dollars. This is according to the Citizen. And then also, fresh move to curb services trade restrictions within the East African region is here today with the Citizen in Tanzania. Then talks on Somalia EAC entry start this week as Somalia looks to join the East African community and become its 8th official member. So that is something that is up for discussion today with the Citizen. Now that is it for what is coming in from the press review this morning, as we now turn our eyes to the business update on GMU this morning. And of course, today being a Monday, we start off with the Forex rates and how you can purchase different currencies according to how they closed yesterday. Now, starting with the US dollar, as of 18th of August 2023, buying was at 3,730.08 Ugandan shillings, and selling was at 3,740.08. And as of midday, it was at 3,731.75, and then selling was at 3,741.75, and closing was at 3,732.58, and selling was at 3,742.58. That was at the closing time. And then with the Great Britain pound, the closing was at 4,757.91. That is if you are buying, and then selling was at 4,770.66 Ugandan shillings. Now the euro was buying at 4,062.54 shillings, while closing at 4,073.42 shillings. And then the Kenyan shilling was closing at, the buying of the Kenyan shilling was at 25.88 if you were to buy it by the 18th of August, and selling was at 25.95 shillings. That is, of course, if you are on the Forex trade and exchange within the country. Now, also moving further to the Tanzanian shillings, by closing hours, it was buying at 1.49 Ugandan shillings, and then it was selling at 1.49 Ugandan shillings as well. Then lastly, with the South African rand, it was closing, the closing hours had it by being bought at 195.77 Ugandan shillings, and selling at 196.29 Ugandan shillings. Well, that is it for our business updates this morning on Good Morning Uganda. And of course, good morning to you as well. After the break, Chirabo joins a panel discussion, I should say, as they will be having the GMU agenda. Stick around.
Hello, darling.
Hi, Granny.
What did you do this weekend?
Well, on Friday, I went on a science trip with my classmates to Windy to see the gorillas.
Then we watched the cup final in London.
Oh.
On Saturday, my friends and I met up to hunt some dragons again. Also, I taught the vacuum cleaner and the TV this new dance everyone's doing. They're really getting into it. And on Sunday, I went to bed watching the world from space. And you? Yeah, seriously, Granny.
With Airtel 5G's lightning fast speeds and seamless connectivity, you won't believe what's next.
Airtel, a reason to imagine.
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Joko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Pick of the day on UBC. Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages and they buy with their own prices. They can go there and set prices for you, and yet you're the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges. Some farmers can now reach market.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning and thank you for being with us on UBC TV. It is a Monday, a fresh new week for us to start. But of course, here in the media or us in the media fraternity, there's always something we are looking out. So we don't know what this week will be as far as what will dominate media space. But last week, by closure of business, we had a very interesting story that was from the FDC, where the Right Honourable Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, came out and said, you know what, I've received complaints from a section of members of Parliament from the FDC, and they are not in line with what the Secretary General of that party, Honourable Nandra Mafabi, had suggested and appointed a new FDC whip in Parliament, leaving Honourable Semuju Nganda no longer in that position and appointing Isfun Sibambi from Mawokota. Now, this dominated. We saw a lot of some wording from Honorable Semuju. Honorable Sibambi neither kept quiet, some FDC members and other concerned people. But also, we had our Honorable Prime Minister congratulate the new appointed, but also encourage Nandra Mafabi, telling him, well, the storm will come to an end. While tables turned and Semuju still retains his position in that capacity. Now, joining me on set is a member of the Forum for Democratic Change, FDC, an advocate, and the other side I know of him, a man with a strong media background. A man I grew up watching on TV, doing some good work there, hosting talk shows actually, and of course, he's so much, now I don't see him often, but also I know him as a very good person when it comes to regulating, would I call them discussions or something like that. But today, he's here to discuss not the law, but discuss politics. Unless here and there where we need to get the bit of the legal mind. Join me, welcome Tegule Gawaya in the studios. You're most welcome.
Thank you, Ndugu.
Well, we were here about 2 weeks back, and you were very confident, and you said, you see, Robert, what is happening within my party, your party, is something that sooner than later is going to be done with, dealt with, dusted, and the party will move on, in fact, more stronger. But when we look at what is happening, it seems something isn't yet to come to an end.
No, I think generally, as a rule of life, when things go wrong, it usually follows that they usually have to get worse before they can become better. So I did expect that there was more to follow. I still think there is going to be a lot more coming down, but it is a necessary part of the healing process. That if you're dealing with a tumor, a boil, Chizimba is a boil, then you have to cut it open. You know, it has to, it goes through various stages. When it is just beginning, it is, you know, hard and painful. And then as it grows and matures, then you have to cut it open. And once you cut it open, everything has to come out. Then you have to clean the wound. And then from there, apply the necessary antibiotics and whatever else the doctors will tell us is required. And then give it time for the healing process to take place. So this is part of the process. Things must get worse before they become better. And again, you want to draw a clear dichotomy between a return to normalcy and a rush to normalcy. If we try to rush to normalcy, we shall be deceiving ourselves. I think we need to have a progressive, a gradual, and eventual, and a phased return to normalcy, which means it really is a several tier or tier process. So much has to be done before we can really achieve a meaningful healing process. If you have a boil that has been, you know, cut open but not properly open, and then you are trying to close the wound and seal it and then apply antibiotics, but there is still remnants of stuff that needs to be extricated, then again the healing process is going to be compromised. I think what we are watching is a necessary part of the healing process. Let people talk, let people just come clean. Let's have everything on the table, and then we shall then have a proper healing and more meaningful healing process.
Well, in the healing process, when you look at the way matters are being handled today within your party, do we see this happen, or are we just assuming? Because you have one of the co-founders of FDC, Dr. Kizza Besigye, who is clear this showing where he's standing. You have figures like the Lord Mayor. One would say he's not very old within the party circles, having his own side. You have the likes of Nandana Mafabi. Then I liked the words of Professor Ogenga Latigo, who said, he mentioned 2 characters and said, both of you know the truth. It is you at this point to save the situation. So you can look through the lens and say, this is the right direction we are taking. Or,
which 2 characters are you talking about here?
He said, well, Amriyat, you know what happened. And if you know what happened, come out. You know, he talks about also Besigye, let's come and see how best we can solve this and end it. But when you look at the voices coming through, you don't see that happening any sooner. You have Semujunganda, a spokesperson of the party, who is saying FDC is not a faith. That I may not live Islam. It is not a faith. So Hiritla means I can get out of this party. I may get, okay, political parties, you have free entry, free exit, for no one, but still for a party spokesperson to say that.
That is nothing new. Even President Yoweri Museveni himself has threatened to leave the NRM. He said he can leave the NRM and go back to the bush under certain conditions. So this is really nothing new. It just tells you that when push comes to shove, then people want to stand by what they believe in. They want to stand with their conviction and conscience. As we used to do, there's that wonderful little book called Darkness at Noon by Arthur Koestler, which we did in our literature classes many years ago. And this guy called Rubashov was saying, talking about the days of the Bolshevik Revolution and everything, said, everything I said, everything I did, I thought and did according to my conviction and conscience. I mean, there were guys in the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia at that time who were being haunted, being persecuted for apparently appearing counter-revolutionary. Because, again, if you look at the... And by the way, when we look at the NRM, I see a lot of Bolshevik stuff in it, in the sense of there's shared characteristics about a revolution or by whatever name called, and then in apparent counter-revolutions coming down the line, and then individuals being hunted and witch-hunted, I mean, because they're being labeled counter-revolutionary. I mean, all those things happen. This is typical in any revolution or any purported revolution, as I think is the case in Uganda. Now, what we're saying is that these things do happen, and there comes a time when your conviction and conscience, once you stand by them, then you are standing in a position diametrically opposed to the party position. Because parties, and I think revolutionaries, have a tendency of shifting goalposts to suit certain interests, because at some point things always begin as, and I'm talking generally, both if you look at NRM as a revolution, if you look at even FDC as a revolution or counter-revolution, then you're going to see that certain things will always be there. That at some point it seems to be a people's thing. This is our thing. And then over time, then individual interests may come in, and then you have issues coming back and forth. And then it always turns out that at some point, your conscience and conviction is diametrically opposed to that, the political correctness as viewed from the party's vantage point. So this happens in every party. I've seen it in the NRM. The president himself saying, you guys, I can even go back to the bush if you guys are whatever and playing with me over this and that. So if Museveni and NRM can reach that point, what about Semuju, who is a boy of the other day, and FDC, which didn't even found in the first place, but just joined? So this is nothing surprising, but for me, the key thing is that we are seeing people come clean. Let people speak. Let people express themselves. Let people freely talk about this. Whatever doubt there has been, if there has been any doubt, let it come out.
But the challenge closely followed each of the people, the key parties here, maybe a number of them, have keenly followed the wordings of, or the words of Honorable Semuju, have keenly followed Honorable Nandala Mafabi. Actually, these are people all invited for that show. And sometimes, somehow, then they are caught up. I don't know what happens. And I want to thank you for coming. I think it's now a matter where it's more of hot iron that no one wants to tamper to touch. But one of the things is sometimes there isn't. We are not seeing reasonable countering of each other. You know, some says I was in the World Bank earning a lot of money. That says if this one. We don't see. The arguments are so minor, and the accusations, it seems they are moving away from real substance and looking at trivial issues. So does this in any way bring calm and readiness to the party? Someone says, I thought being a professor of law, he taught, but I wonder how you can't see this. There's more of insult and not coming clean, actually. What is happening is not coming clean, you know. It is wrong medication. Yeah,
I think this is, again, for the record, let me say that I believe as a party, this could have been handled better.
Okay, now I agree with you on that.
I think there's lots of room for improvement in the manner in which conflicts and disputes are resolved within the party. I believe that there's lots of room for improvement in the manner in which people, the big wigs of the party relate with each other. I think there's room for improvement. And as members, we feel that a lot needs to be done to resolve this, maybe to get the party back on track. So that should be said. There's nothing to argue about there. But on the whole, again, I'm saying these are human beings. I think a lot has been maybe said and done away from the public eye. I think that people have been hurt in the process. I think people have been, some people feel let down by their colleagues. So it is natural, it is normal that at this time, people should, express what you're calling petty, but I think I would rather call them personal sentiments. I think that this is not highly surprising. I mean, these are human beings. So as we, like I said, things must get worse before they get better. There will be a point at which we reach and say, okay, fine, whatever needs to be said has been said, whatever has been done. Now let's sit down like men at the table and craft a way forward for the party. I think these men all love their party. They may be imperfect in many ways, but aren't we all? But I know that deep in their hearts, they all love the party. They find FDC a vehicle worth being aboard. If you look at Nandala has invested a lot of money in FDC. I know that for sure. There's no doubt about that. I know that. Hundreds of millions he has invested in FDC as a person. As a person. I also know that there are other people who may not have as much money as Nandala, but they have invested their energies, their intellect into making the party what it is. Semuju has been at the forefront of, being, speaking out against the ills we see in government. He has been bold, he has been unapologetic, he has been, he basically, it's like a tell it like it is a scenario with Semuju. I mean, whatever he says, he'll talk about it, and I want to applaud him for that. So everybody has their contribution. Some contributions may be financial, others may be moral, others may be intellectual, others may be whatever form they have taken, but everybody has played a part in making FDC an opposition party worth fighting for, if you're a member, but also worth fighting against if you are in government. I mean, government knows that FDC is a strong party. That's why they will not leave it alone. They will do everything possible to undermine it. The president has been on record saying, I think he had said by which year there would be no opposition at all in Uganda. I think FDC has proved him wrong, that we're still there as a party, and we still oppose a lot of what he does. Some things, of course, we agree with once in a while, but most of the time we oppose, I think, on principle.
Okay. Now, in law, there is something called precedent. And I've had a number of judgments where the fact of precedent has determined the case. Now, looking at what is happening in FDC, it is not new. It once happened in UPC, one of the traditional oldest political parties in this country. The bickering and all that, it once happened in Democratic Party. And we saw many leave and others. Now it is in FDC. But in the two parties I've mentioned, they never had an opportunity to recover. Today, some may be seen almost as wings or arms of NRM. Some analysts may attribute it to that way. Now, why do you get the basis when you have precedents? And one said this was a time to hand over or sell FDC to NRM. What are those things, Tegule, that you look at and say, our story is going to be different and precedences may not work?
Well, if you look, I think every case must be handled on its unique facts. FDC has a solid base in the sense that over the last 2 decades, we have proved a formidable party. You know, and everybody knows that the NRM does not play fair. Financially, they don't play fair. Politically, they don't play fair. Fair just isn't a word that NRM can easily spell. It doesn't exist in their vocabulary. I think all they live for is stay in power by all means necessary. Being a gentleman, having a gentlemanly disposition is not part of the NRM vocabulary. So the fact that we are still existing as a party by itself, even forget about any other merit, that to me is a big success. FDC has been under pressure from all corners because the president and the ruling party have always been determined to make sure that there's no one to oppose them, which I think is anti-competitive. It's also anti-democratic because it's in the best interest of the country that there be opposition. It's in the best interest of the party, of the country in the long term, that there be opposing views that help people make an informed decision, and that strengthen the basis, the fundamentals of our democracy. Anybody who says they want opposition is being short-sighted. They're being unpatriotic, and I think they're also being, to borrow Mr. Museveni's words, ideologically bankrupt, because it means you do not see beyond yourself. You don't see beyond the party. One has to have the bigger picture to appreciate that democracy runs on opposing views. There must be a thesis and a counter-thesis and an antithesis or a counter-thesis for people to develop a proper synthesis and say, this is where we stand. This is where we need to go.
You're sounding like you're looking at your failures, your weaknesses, and attributing them to NRM, because for these scenarios...
Wait a moment, what do you mean failures and weaknesses?
Failures to stay together, to stay a focused party, not to be swayed by simple things. Who on earth would think...
Who said we're not focused? Just because
when you look at these political parties,
Tegule, just because we have bickering, just because we have disagreements, doesn't mean we're not focused. It just, like I said, it just means we are human beings. Our brains are working. We are not able, we're not like one choir which needs to be, all together singing the same song all the time. There must be times when we disagree. The question, and this is where we must be judged. Judge FDC on its ability to resolve this crisis. If we are unable to resolve this crisis, then call us failures. Call us weak. But mere saying we are disagreeing actually is a success in itself, because you cannot afford this in NRM. NRM doesn't allow anybody to talk. You see, so the apparent stability in quotes in NRM is actually a sign of weakness, that there is no internal democracy within the ruling party. The moment you voice anything, they're going to hound you out, they're going to hunt you down, they're going to do everything against you. They will ostracize you and make you regret the day you were born.
So in the end, you're saying your strength is made perfect in your weaknesses?
Exactly, in your apparent weaknesses. When you say that we are bickering, it means we're able to talk. One can stand here, the other stands there. They talk at each other without fear of whether they'll go home that day. To me, that means, as a party, there's internal freedom to talk, to disagree. There must be, we must be able, if there's any good contract, a good contract is one which you can walk away from and say, well, I can do, or I can deal, or I can walk away. That is a good contract. It means the playing ground is level. Both sides have an opportunity to do the deal or to walk away from it.
But when people wash their dirty linen in public, it's also another weakness. Is it that you lack structures? Because maybe NRM could have these structures and they know how to handle things better than you're doing, and not wash their dirty linen in public.
Actually, the other word that NRM cannot spell is structures. The word simply doesn't exist in the vocabulary. If they met it walking along Nile Avenue right here, no NRM member would recognize that word. They would walk right past it. So we have structures as a party, and we're going to use those structures to resolve this. Already there is work that's been going on. If you have been following. Now, the the issue here is not to rush back to normalcy. I don't believe in rushing. I believe that everything needs to be first put on the table. In NRM, they put a table on the issues because they want to be seen to be saying this and whatever, we shall look bad. In FDC, we put the issues on the table. We hide nothing. Put the issues here, dissect them, and then let us see how to move forward. And I guarantee you, you will see a healing process begin, and that will make us even stronger than we have been before.
Well, it's only time that we'll be able to either look at Tegule's words and say, indeed, he was right, or we'll know that, well, there was nothing much that could happen. You can be part of this topic of discussion this lovely Monday morning by simply using the number on your screen. I have an advocate, a member of Forum for Democratic Change, the party that is currently having issues when it comes to top leadership amongst the party, pointing fingers at one another, allegations of evil, dirty money. Something that really surprised me when I looked at the figures, if that is the actual money, all these people look to be, they have had, it couldn't be merely 300 million. It couldn't be. And this is the issue that is raising and leaves me wondering, what exactly, Tegule, what exactly? Because you can't tell me that the likes of Nadama Fabi, the likes 300 million is something that can really be a problem and has led the party. You can't tell me that organizing elections, you see, internal democracy could be the challenge at such a point. What is the issue that is disorganizing your party?
Like I said, there's a lot. I admitted that there's lots of room for improvement in the way issues are handled. I think we could do better there, and we shall do better. We're going to take to do that. We need to get back on the table and have a frank discussion. Post-apartheid in South Africa, there was what they called the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, led by Bishop Desmond Tutu, bless his soul. The purpose there was not necessarily to condemn and initiate revenge missions and stuff like that, but to say, you know what, we're in a new dispensation. We want to get to the bottom of this whole thing. Where did we go wrong? What has gone wrong? How do we resolve this? How do we move forward? So I believe that we shall have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, a committee by whatever name called and by whatever form it will take. But I think the basis, the basic ingredients are really truth and reconciliation. And we shall be looking at basically having some internal reflection, saying where did we go wrong, how did we get here, who has done what and why, and how do we resolve the apparent internal contradictions that have come to the fore, how do we strengthen the party going forward. I think the time for that will come, and when that time comes, Ugandans will see a much stronger, a much more valiant and resilient FDC than we have seen, especially over the last couple of years, with the advent of things like NUP and, of course, the NRM gaining this one that way. People will see that FDC is becoming better and that we've always been a good party in spite of everything.
Well, viewers, you can be part of the topic of discussion. Please send us a message regarding that topic. I just have one who is not so much into the topic because it's just asking you to represent them in Ikiki County. I think that this could be your area of origin, Kadimokoli. I hope I have it right. It says, thanks, Mr. Gawaya. We are waiting for you to represent us. People of Ikiki sub-county, Odong from Kadimokoli. Well, I want something that is more of a topic of discussion today. Another one coming in, bye-bye FDC. Gone too soon without us seeing your fruit. Malende Gei. Please, let's stick to English.
Let me address to what he's saying. What is the last thing he's saying there?
Gone too soon, mwalide eji ne mwesubya omuwula. Chadondo David. Okay.
Yes, but Malende is. He said is Malende.
No, it's Chadondo David.
Chadondo David. He's saying bye-bye FDC. Chadondo, where are you going? Where are you going, my brother?
The party
Chadondo?
is gone, according to him.
No, he is going, apparently Chadondo is going somewhere. The party is here, the party is going nowhere. It is you that is going, and I'm asking, where are you going?
Very interesting one. Well, still coming in, another one. Please, let's have your name. Kindly do that, and if possible, where you are watching us from. He says, FDC cannot go back on track. Let Tegule not confuse us.
Who is that?
He didn't give me the name.
That's why I didn't put the name, because then he fears to be challenged on the issues. FDC is going nowhere. FDC is not even off track. FDC is merely having some internal challenges for a while, which are going to be resolved. And like I said, there will be a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, by whatever name called, to iron out all these issues, and we shall be good to go in a very short while. Nobody need fear anything if we have people who don't want to see and let me tell you also, as Ugandans, we should be anxious to see a strong FDC. We should be anxious to see a strong opposition, because that is what guarantees the future of the country. It's very difficult when you have a one-party state where everything is commanded and controlled by one person or by one party, and there is no contrary voice. It becomes a situation which is unbearable. We saw that in the days of the Cold War in the USSR, if you like, the Soviet Union. We saw that in all those communist Eastern European states. People were escaping from the communist world to go to the Western world. We've seen that through the ages in North and South Korea. People escaping from North Korea to go to South Korea just to get freedom, because every time you're in a place where there's only one voice and no contrary voice is allowed, the place becomes untenable sooner or later. So whoever is saying this, I think we need to educate them. Uganda needs FDC. Uganda needs NUP. Uganda needs DP. Uganda needs UPC. Uganda needs the opposition, by whatever name called, on the table, to be strong, to be vocal, to be vibrant, and that is what will guarantee our democracy over the years, because the future of this country depends on the ability of people to have a choice from two or more competing voices. That, you know, and for me, I don't see that as undesirable. If you look at it in that perspective, I look at that as, I think it is Chairman Mao Zedong, who used to call it the unity of opposites, that you have a thesis, you have an antithesis, and then through that opposition, then eventually you come up with a synthesis that say, now this is what we need, this is what we go with. Now, communism at its worst, or if you like, a one-party state at its worst, denies you that option of having competing voices from which you're able then to derive a synthesis, to say, this, we've listened to Ratoro, we have listened to Robert, we think this is the best way forward, having listened to all of them. As a country, this is what we need. People must have that ability.
That is very
to
good,
choose.
and no doubt.
If they don't, then the country is doomed.
But the challenge we are having, Tegule, here is the failure for us to get to that amongst our opposition. You said FDC will survive.
Not survive.
It may not thrive.
They will go through
because
this,
we
and
may
they
not
shall
have
thrive.
a state where we don't have FDC anymore. We'll still have a party called FDC. We don't have a state where we do not have UPC. We don't have a state where we do not have DP. These are parties that are there. Elections, they even have representatives. Parliament, they have representatives. But their vibrancy, their strength is what we are talking about. Because surviving and thriving are very different things. Now, what you're having in Uganda today is you're having opposition parties, and there is no way you can come and say we don't have opposition in Uganda. But what bothers me is the way we lose the strength, the once mighty political parties that we had in this country. Is it people don't understand multi-party dispensation, including you people in the opposition? Because sometimes most of these are swayed to individual benefits. someone once in a party appointed a minister, which is maybe diverse, but then later the person speaks things you don't understand.
Which person talk about here?
I don't want to go into characters, basically, but
this is a talk show.
There's so many
these are
people
public issues.
There's so many people that were once in another political party.
No, talk to me about them, because we want to iron this out. Let's put the issue on the table. Don't put a table on the issues.
We had people like, let me talk about the late Hajina Santege Sebagala. A man I remember when he was returning from Entebbe, coming back. How
from jail in America.
From jail in America. I have not seen any politician with that fame. Look at how disastrous it became, and how later I was in Nambole when they said, let's welcome Hajina Santege Sebagala. It was the NRM something.
Yeah, delegates conference.
Delegates conference, and I was shocked. The man coming, fumbling NRM, thank you for the people. People said, oh, he's gone. The list is, I'm trying to... So it becomes, if we are saying that the opposition in Uganda is being broken because these people are all rotting in jail, all these people are being shot and killed, found on streets, one would say, but Abantu. One would say, but they're all in prison. But what is eating our opposition is that Tegule I have today, speaking strong about FDC. Tomorrow meeting the Tegule and saying the likes of Honorable Beatrice Sanywa, strong characters, that lady Damiavaida, you would see, the likes of, but it's like they've changed clothes and put on something else, and we are moving.
But you see, I think there's lots of ways you can look at that. Beatrice Sanywa is somebody that was, and still is, my very good friend. I think she's a formidable lady. Yeah. The fact that President Museveni thought it fit to recruit her into his ranks talks a lot about her formidability, that she's, she's strong, what having.
Then she's saying NRM oye.
Yes, for me, let's first look at the individual attributes and celebrate them for what they are. Because if they had been useless, President Museveni would not have had interest in them. But the fact that he saw and said, I want this person on my side, it tells that there have been formidable people in the opposition, that the NRM feels they are worth recruiting. Now, politics, people change views from time to time, and you cannot blame them. They have their reasons for changing views. And there's a lot of less. I think we need a separate time to discuss why people change sides and stuff like that, and why others stay stuck onto where they are and say, I'm not going anywhere. People may have their reasons. If you look at Beatrice Sanywa, I'm sure if you brought her here, she would tell you lots of things. If you look at Norbert Mao, I think he would also tell you a very different perspective. For me, the whole thing is that we have vibrant political brains. And people change. Today you're here, but who knows what tomorrow holds? Tomorrow Beatrice Sanywa may be back to the fold. Who knows, Norbert Mao may also walk away. Yes, because let me tell you, we need to...
It can't rain soda sometimes.
Go in the Shaka Sali, the talk show host, Voice of America, is one who, I think he's starting another show, by the way. I don't know where. I haven't talked to him in a while. But he also ended his show with, keep hope alive. It's important, it's imperative that as nationals, we have hope. We speak with hope. We sell hope, if you like, selling the sense of, we offer hope to the people that tomorrow can be better than today. It will be better than today. Because if we get despondent and desperate and say, things are bad, therefore we are doomed, I don't think that's what the country needs. This country needs to hear that there is hope for tomorrow. Things may not be as nice as we want them today, but tomorrow will be better. We just need to stay steadfast and focused. We just need to know what we want, appreciate where we are, and see where we're going. We need to have a keen sense of where are we going as a country. I think politicians also need to look beyond the bread and butter and say, I want money today, I want what will work for me today. We need to ask the question, where do we want this country to go? When you have a sense of direction as a politician, then maybe you will not shift sides so easily. Because there will always be a chance, if you're formidable as a politician, for Museveni to get you on board. But do you know where you're going as a country? Do you have a vision for the country? If you have a vision for the country, do you share the same vision with President Yoweri Museveni? If you want to join Museveni, those questions must be there. Do you share the same vision? Sometimes the vision might be similar, but do you share the same methods of work? Do you feel that the way we want to implement the vision is the same and therefore shall agree with them? I think once we have some of those questions being asked all the time, then people will be less inclined to simply shift political sides either from NRM to FDC or vice versa, or from government to from ruling party to opposition and vice versa, because then they will be standing for something. Because somebody said, if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything.
Well, falling for anything, let me just look at more of the questions that are coming in from our viewers. One says, GMU, thanks for the program. Honorable Tegule, you have wasted your capacity as a honorable by staying in a dead party. If you don't run or turn to NRM, you will never sit in parliament to represent Ikiki County. You know we are NRM in Bukdaka, Simon in Tirinyi. Okay, then let me see. Good morning. Okay, this is all aimed at weakening FDC party by Westerners because some of you, no, we do not entertain such messages, brother. Then a very interesting one, still, very long, but let me try. This is Hashifimana Simwe. My take is that every family has internal issues. The way they are resolved either keeps it internal or external. We cannot forget the contribution of FDC party, just like you can't forget one who fought for you. FDC can heal, and let's wind with that. He's optimistic, but you see, when we talk about hope, there's either real hope or false hope. Let's end. Is there real hope or is this false hope? That FDC will come out stronger than before, or will come out in pieces and more of just a puppet as a political party in registration of books?
This is not the first storm that that has hit FDC on the waters. We've had problems before. We've come through them. There are still more problems coming ahead, and we shall still go through them. This is just part of the story. And I guarantee you the FDC that I know is resilient. FDC has made its contribution to the political debate, the political arena, to change in this country. I think a lot of, if we have things going right in Uganda, FDC is part of them because they've put government in a position where they must do certain things in a certain way. People today walk on the streets freely because there's no graduated tax. And we know that it was Kiza Besigye who came up and said, when you get me to State House, I will abolish graduated tax. And I think the following day, President Museveni announced no more graduated tax. I mean, that's an example of change. When Besigye said, as president, I'm going to appoint a review commission for the constitution to make sure that we have constitutional changes, immediately President Museveni appointed the Constitutional Review Commission under Sempewa. I mean, so when you have a strong opposition, it means the ruling party avoids excesses and will be able to do what is right for the country. So FDC has made its contribution already. We're still making contribution. We want to make more contribution, and this time in State House. And we want to promise the people that we shall steady the ship, we shall ride the storm, we shall reach the harbor safe and sound. You can rely on us. And for those who are my people in Ikiki, just watch that space. I'll be coming to address you down in Budaka, and then we shall talk about the political future of the district, but also of Bugwere and of Uganda.
Well, thank you so much, Tegule, for your time. And of course, hope is always something we should live for. Whether it is false or real hope, well, the time will tell the story. I'll leave you with Ruben for sports. See you later. Have a lovely day.
Man, what's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Joko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.